Today on Notsam Wrestling, Randy Orton turns on Cody Rhodes. So why did he do it? Drew McIntyre quits and then immediately unquits the WWE. Seth Rollins has many masked men. CM Punk will not apologize to Roman Reigns' family. The Judgment Day disintegrates in front of our eyes. WrestleMania season is so tense. This is Notsam Wrestling. Welcome to Notsam Wrestling. And as we approach WrestleMania, we talked about it last week. Cody Rhodes won the WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton became the match, and I said it was a something's gotta give scenario. It was a match where, sure, you could just have two people go in as great wrestlers who respect each other, but in reality, to tell this story the right way, something's gotta give. And that unfolded right in front of our eyes at the contract signing to main event SmackDown on Friday. Randy Orton turns heel was the headline. Randy Orton turns heel is the way it's being described. I think Randy Orton turned, but I think heel and babyface in this scenario, much like Roman and CM Punk, are kind of too basic of the type of term to use for a scenario like we've got in front of our faces. I think that as wrestling fans, we've wanted stories with nuance for a long time. I think the Bloodline was the beginning of really getting sort of significant stories that had nuance the way films and television shows do. And I think that's what you're seeing in these main event matches as you're headed towards WrestleMania. You know, I was sitting and I felt so strongly because I did have feelings, you know, but I wanted to sit on those feelings after the Randy Orton turn happened. Now, I didn't want to light the siren up because I wanted to sit on the feelings and then allow them to kind of inform my thoughts as I started to analyze this over and over in my head. And I felt so strongly about it that I ended up tweeting out a series of like 4 or 5 tweets on Saturday morning, sitting in the Dunkin' with my coffee on my phone, just typing out what my immediate thoughts were about this Randy Orton thing. And it was based on 2 things. Number one, this idea of analyzing the segment based on the idea that, oh, did you guys see the Randy Orton heel turn? Here's what I think. And I already feel like that is a flawed way to start the conversation. The other part of this being, wow, that was lazy. Why didn't Cody turn? And I went, well, like, let's relax with one guy just has to be a bad guy now. So we just pick whichever one. Or the other thing, which is like, they really expect that we're going to boo Randy Orton? I don't know that there was anything about that segment that implies that the expectation is that Randy Orton will get booed. I think that the expectation is that the story will now have more grounding, that the story will become, it's not necessarily about cheers and boos, but the story will become more compelling because now you've got 2 sides, one of them, at least in that segment on SmackDown, being unexpected. I mean, Randy Orton being able to do a full 180 so quickly that he even knocked out poor Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll was in the house. It was made very clear that he was friends with Randy Orton. It was reminded to us multiple times that he teamed with Randy Orton. And, you know, when you're watching it, you just assume that all these references to Jelly Roll and Randy Orton being close is kind of just to put Jelly Roll over a little bit, you know? Like as Jelly Roll is getting involved in this segment with Kit Wilson and The Miz and all this stuff going on, that you know, the Randy Orton connection, I thought at first was just a way of getting fans invested in what Jelly Roll was doing, giving him a little bit of additional credibility for being on SmackDown, when in reality, it was helping to tell the story of Randy Orton, because when we get, over the last 2 weeks, reminded of that relationship that Randy and Jelly have, only to turn around and watch Randy Orton put hands on Jelly Roll. Well, that's everybody saying that hey, Randy's not the same Randy. Even Jelly didn't see this coming. So we get to this segment, right? And Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes sit down, and it's all respect, and it's all good between two friends. And Cody starts telling his story about Randy Orton, and Cody's talking about having his first WWE television match against Randy Orton, being under the learning tree of Randy Orton, seeing Randy Orton win the Royal Rumble, getting into that argument with Stu the camera guy about how he was going to point to the WrestleMania sign, and thinking one day that could be me. How impactful for years and years, well over 10 years, 15 years, maybe more, that Randy has been on Cody Rhodes. And Cody talking about, bringing back the old Viper, bringing back the youngest WWE champion, or world heavyweight champion, bringing back the legend killer. And some people took that as, well, that's Cody inviting him back. You shouldn't have invited him back, but I don't think so. I think every answer to this segment as to why Randy did what he did came from Randy Orton himself. That Randy, to me, did not turn heel. Randy did what he was going to do, and Cody's the one that changed everything. One person can sometimes change destiny and make everything different from that point on. Randy won the Elimination Chamber with one expressed goal: to become a 15-time WWE champion. And you realize after Friday that it was never about who was holding the championship. Randy wants to be 15-time WWE champion. No, Randy needs to be 15-time WWE champion. And all Randy needs to do is reflect back and think about who he was the previous 14 times he held WWE gold. Who he was the previous 14 times that he was WWE champion. He knows exactly how to lock into that. And he knows that ever since he came back to the WWE at Survivor Series 2023, he's been happy to be back. Randy has been happy for this chapter in his career. He's signed autographs for the kids on his way to the ring. He's smiled at everybody. He's had friends. Anytime he's on a mic, anytime he's doing an interview, he's talking about this chapter in his career that he did not know that he would have. Randy, for the last 2 and change, in terms of years, has had this quality that we've never really seen in the Randy Orton character, and that quality is gratitude. Except gratitude doesn't win championships. And at a point, it's not enough to just be back. Randy has wanted to be WWE champion for a long time. From the moment Cody Rhodes won the championship, there are photos at WrestleMania 40 of Cody being hoisted up onto the shoulders of his peers, and Randy is looking at the title. And we all know every single time that Cody and Randy were in the same room for that full year that Cody was champion, and they were in the same room a lot throughout the Kevin Owens story, throughout all of it. Every single time, Randy Orton would look at Cody's championship. You could sit there and say, this doesn't make any sense. Why would Randy turn heel? But not only does this make sense, this is a year and a half or more in the making. This is something that Randy told you was coming. If you just watch the show, all you have to do is watch the product. And Randy has said this was coming for a year and a half. And he let Cody have his run. He never turned. He never got involved. He never demanded a match. Even when Cody was handing matches out to his friends like Kevin Owens, Randy didn't demand anything. Just knowing my time will come, my time will come, my time will come. And then we get to the beginning of 2026, and Drew McIntyre has beaten Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. The one other time that Randy Orton challenged for the WWE Championship, who was it against? John Cena. The minute Cody Rhodes lost the championship at WrestleMania, 24 hours later, John Cena showed up on Raw, and Randy Orton RKO'd John Cena. Randy Orton wants that title. He wasn't going to go after Cody. He waited a year. And then Cody dropped the title. And 1 day later, Randy drops John Cena with an RKO. Finally, I don't care who the champion is. My friend Cody has dropped the title. Now I'm going to go after and get it. I wasn't going to ruin it for Cody, but now I'm going to go after it and get it. He didn't get it from John Cena. Cody ends up getting it back. Okay, Randy's in the cut. Cody drops the title to Drew McIntyre in January. And what does Randy do? Okay, now's my shot. Cody also didn't win the Royal Rumble. Randy goes, okay, come hell or high water, I'm winning the Elimination Chamber. And I'm going to fight Drew McIntyre. I'm going to get that title at WrestleMania. I need to have that title. Cody does not have it. I need to have it. I'm going to get it against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. So even though he had to wait for the one moment that he had, he waited until the one moment that he had. He said, Cody's going to be in this thing. I got to take Cody out of the chamber. It's the only way to get my title match. Because because once it's mine, am I going to make sure that it's mine? And while Cody was trying to take out Drew McIntyre, and he did, Randy hits that RKO, 1, 2, 3. Randy wins. And Randy starts mentally preparing for the destruction that he's going to put on Drew McIntyre. But no. Cody comes back and beats Drew for the title after the Elimination Chamber. Randy Orton won the Elimination Chamber with the intention of going to WrestleMania to face Drew McIntyre. Cody beats Drew McIntyre, knowing that Randy Orton is the challenger. And Randy says, okay, you've left me literally no choice. I need the title. I've done everything in my power for you not to be the guy that I'm going to get that title from. You don't know what I'm going to do to the guy with that title. You're the last person I want to do it to. And Cody, you are forcing my hand. Now, where am I getting all this from? Randy Orton had very little mic time on Friday. Cody talked about the history with Randy, bigged up Randy Orton, talked about how great Randy was. Randy gets on the microphone and says, Cody, you don't understand. I need that. I have to have it. This wasn't supposed to be hard. This was supposed to be easy. Drew was supposed to be out here. When Randy says this wasn't supposed to be hard, he doesn't mean it's more. This isn't, Punk and Roman on Raw taking shots at Drew McIntyre. He doesn't mean Drew McIntyre is an easier wrestler to beat than Cody Rhodes is. He means it is easier for him to go full Viper and ruin Drew McIntyre and take his title than it will be for him to do it to Cody Rhodes. Cody, you've made this hard. I'm still I have to do it, but you've made this hard. And as Randy Orton was trying to explain to Cody what Cody has done, Cody, you did this. I was already here. You did this, Cody. Cody interrupted Randy Orton. There's nothing more annoying on the planet. Well, maybe, I don't know. One of the most annoying things on the planet is when somebody decides they're going to finish your sentences, but is doing them incorrectly. They're not listening. They have their own narrative. Cody grabs the microphone and he interrupts Randy Orton. He says he's going to take the weight off Randy's shoulders. Don't even worry about it. I know what you got to do. Once that bell rings, you're going to do what you're going to do. And I'm sure Randy's sitting there going, what are you talking about when the bell rings? It's when the ink is on paper. It's not the bell rings. Do you understand? What about me, the Viper, Randy Orton, makes you think that once that ink is dry, that I'm going to wait until the bell rings? Go back through the history of Randy Orton, and you tell me where Randy Orton, have waited until the bell rings. No. Did I wait for John Cena until the bell rings? No, I ruined his life. Did I wait for Edge until the bell rings? No, I ruined his life. Did I wait for Bray Wyatt until the bell rings? No, I ruined his life. This is who Randy Orton is. This is what Randy Orton is. This is what he has always been. And this is the person who Cody agreed to fight. I mean, hits him with the low blow and then slams his head into the table. Randy is so damn good at telling this story. The way Randy uses his body, his mannerisms, his words, Everything Randy does is I mean, collegiate level thinking. It's just a different thing. There's a different level of storytelling happening with Randy Orton. And when Randy starts slamming Cody's head, he slams his head into the table, but it's not like he's overcome with anger. Cody goes, I know the voices in your head are talking to you. And Randy's like, Randy, I don't even think Randy's out of control. Randy was aware that this was going to happen. Randy knew exactly what he was going to have to do. Randy knew he was going to have to lock in. And Randy wanted to lock in and do this to Drew McIntyre. And Cody made it impossible. And then he interrupted him when he was trying to tell him what he had done. And I believe that if you really watch this segment, as much as, man, Randy looks like a villain, he's left Cody bloody, sandwiches his head between a steel chair and the crook of some steel steps, puts his hands on Nick Aldis again. He knocked over Nick Aldis and Jelly Roll in one segment. Those are two different national treasures right there. He didn't care. Left, came back. Why? Two reasons. Number one, this is always what he had to do when it came to being the challenger at WrestleMania. And two, Cody did not understand. As much as Cody said he understood, if Cody understood, he would not have hugged that man after he signed the contract. Cody had no idea the waters that he was swimming in. And there were signs all over the beach that said, beware of sharks. Cody didn't bring his glasses, though. I think if you watch that segment, and this is why I found it such a fascinating, interesting, and compelling segment, that the reality is that Cody was acting with a certain degree of hubris. Cody was acting as if he was in full control of everything that was happening. Cody was acting as if because he was coming in and honoring the challenger and respecting the challenger, that he was going to be paid the same level of respect in return. But there is nothing about Randy Orton that should make you believe that that was going to happen, unless you are acting in a state of hubris, unless you were acting in a way where you weren't thinking about the person who was next to you, where you weren't thinking about who it was that you were facing. You were just thinking about the fact that you're the champion, you're the man, and there's another challenger, and this one happens to be your friend. For all the talk that Cody did of the Viper, of the Legend Killer, of 09 Randy, our beloved 09 Randy, Cody knows about a 09 Randy better than anybody. Cody was not ready for 09 Randy, even though he said that's who he wanted. Go back to 2009. How often did Randy Orton in 2009 sit quietly until the bell rang? I don't think so. I don't think so. And you could say, well, you know, Randy, this isn't about, not only is this not about Randy wanting to fight Cody and Randy wanting to prove something against Cody, this is actually about the fact that Randy did not want to fight Cody. This story is about the fact that Randy didn't want this to be Cody, because 2026 is Randy's WrestleMania. And he is going to do that at the expense and at the cost of bodily harm to whoever it is that he is paired up with at this WrestleMania. Cody insisted that it was him. And Randy looked at Cody as if to say, why? Why would you make me do this? Why would you make me do this? I don't want to do this. I didn't want to do this. Why would you make me do this? And all signs for me point to the fact that Cody did. Cody, and look, Cody is no fool. Cody did this because Cody has a desire to be champion that is just as great as Randy's. Except Cody shows it in a different way. Cody doesn't have that venom coursing through him yet. And so this question comes up now, and this is why this idea, I say Randy turned on Cody. I'm okay with saying that because it's a colloquial way of saying Randy attacked Cody. Maybe Randy turned on Cody's idea of who Randy would be. But Randy gave Cody exactly what Cody asked for. Randy gave Cody exactly what Cody wanted when he won the WWE Championship. Cody beat Drew McIntyre. And when he beat Drew McIntyre, he didn't just win the championship, he inherited the champion's debts. The champion was already indebted to Randy Orton. When Cody Rhodes won that title, there was already an understanding that the champion would face Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Cody knowingly inherited the champion's debts. And that debt appeared right in front of him. You know, I see this as Randy acting in the truest Randy way possible. I see this as Randy saying, like, no, this was not, I don't care. I don't have personal problems. I don't like Drew McIntyre, but I don't want to fight Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania because I don't like him. I want to fight Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania because I want the championship. It's only ever been about the championship. Mosh from the Headbangers could beat Drew McIntyre. Now I'm going to go beat Mosh from the Headbangers. I need the championship. And from Randy's perspective, Cody, I have waited patiently for 2 years for that championship. 2 years. And we get to another WrestleMania where you have it back and you're standing there. I can no longer take a high road that you have blocked off. I don't see this as a Randy heel turn at all. I see this as Randy finally losing humility. I see this as Randy. You could maybe say Randy's being selfish, but Randy should be selfish. He's fighting for the championship at WrestleMania. Cody's selfish. Drew's selfish. Jacob Fatu is selfish. Top wrestlers, by definition, are selfish. The same way any athlete, any football player who goes onto the field is looking at the player that's across from him in a different color shirt, and he's not thinking about that player's personality. He's not thinking about that player's family. He's thinking about the fact that that player is what is stopping him from his goal. And whether there's bodily harm, whether there's injury, whether there's public humiliation, his job is to get through that player. And that's who Randy Orton is going into WWE WrestleMania. I think this question of, do you really expect us to boo Randy Orton? I don't even know that there's anything implicit in what happened that says we're doing this so you boo Randy Orton. No, I think there's a pretty good knowledge. I would guess that the people making decisions probably watch the show more often than a lot of us do. They're watching every week, every hour, every minute, every segment. They know if Cody didn't get cheered winning the WWE Championship on SmackDown the way he did at SummerSlam or at WrestleMania 40. They know these reactions. They're gonna try to put on a show that gauges a certain reaction, but they are aware of what's going on. And I think that there's an awareness that there's a fondness for 09 Randy. I think that there's an awareness that there is a fondness for the Viper of old. I think that there is an awareness that there's a large percentage of the fan base that has been waiting for Randy Orton to return to form. And so the idea that he even got cheered by some of the audience on SmackDown, I don't think that's going to catch anybody off guard. I don't think that you're going to find people going, oh boy, that's not what we intended. And even if that is the reaction, you work within that reaction. The same people telling you WWE is screwed because they wanted Randy to get booed are the same people telling you Danhausen will never work because he got booed in Chicago. And what happened? 48 hours after that, one television segment. Danhausen's got the hottest selling t-shirt in the company. He's I mean, I can tell you from interviewing him for WWE now, just look at the numbers on the interview. Everybody's Danhausen obsessed. It was never a problem. I think that Cody, if anything, this will lean in to the different types of fans that are going to be watching. My children were horrified about what Randy Orton did to Cody Rhodes. They love Cody Rhodes because Cody Rhodes is a babyface. And they love the fact that as long as they've been watching wrestling, think about it. They're young kids. Cody has been the top babyface for the last 3 years. They don't remember anything longer than 3 years ago. As long as they've been watching wrestling, if you're under 10 years old, then for the most part, as long as you've been watching wrestling, Cody Rhodes has been the biggest good guy there is. Anybody who's under 10 either grew up with Cody Rhodes or is in the process of growing up with Cody Rhodes. And they're going to cheer Cody Rhodes. And they're going to be dismayed at what Randy did to Cody. Those of us that are a little more grizzled by life, those of us that have lived through a lot of this, at some point the niceness fades and we want that chip on the shoulder. We want that ruggedness. We want the grizzle. We want somebody like Randy Orton at this stage in the game coming out and ruining it for people. We want somebody that's going to dismantle people. I mean, Cody was doing interviews this week. He did a bunch of podcasts, and he was talking about being a polarizing wrestler and how he's never been a polarizing wrestler before. But if we can take Cody at the things that he's said, I think Cody is going to wear being a polarizing wrestler like a badge of honor. There's one thing that Cody has wanted to do, and he's been vocal about it. There's a reason why Cody left. When Cody left the WWE, and he made that list on Twitter of who he wanted to fight, he left because he wanted to prove he could be the top guy in the industry. And when he came back to WWE, he came back for only one reason, to be the top guy in the industry. Who's he modeling himself after? Roman Reigns was the previous top guy. Polarizing. Heavy on the booze, but polarizing. Who's the best example of a top guy in the modern era? John Cena. Who in the modern era is a better example of a top guy than John Cena? He invented polarizing. He's the guy that they base that word around. You think Cody can't handle being polarizing when he knows that's what it is to be a top guy in the modern era? I think Cody is ready for it. I think, again, Cody would wears it like a badge of honor to be that guy. And I think that's what you've got going in to WrestleMania 42 at this point. You got 09 Randy versus polarizing Cody. And I think I think the angle was magnificently done. To the point that I can sit here and break it all down and justify all actions by all people with you guys. And I can sit here and tell you nobody acted out of character. And honestly, if you really want to look at it, you know what I mean? People are going to watch wrestling in many different ways. As different as wrestling is, the fan base varies that way too. You can like wrestling for different reasons, and you can watch wrestling in different ways. There's a huge portion of the audience that's just casual fans that just want to watch it if it's on, long day at work, long day at school, whatever it is. And they just want to turn on a little wrestling, have a good time. It's a silly, fun show. And maybe they haven't watched it in a week or two. Maybe they haven't watched it in a month or two. Maybe they turned it off for 2 years and they're just turning it back on now. That's a huge portion of the fan base. And they just want, oh, whoa, look, Randy Orton turned bad and beat up Cody Rhodes. And I mean, great. Maybe I'll watch WrestleMania now. Oh, that's really interesting, the way the crowd's reacting to these guys. I think those of us that are watching every minute and finding things to comment on every minute of every show, you've got to take it all in. There's a reason. To me, the angle showcased why you should watch the product, why speculating wildly drew us here, and why everything counts. For Cody to turn heel, quote unquote, and just all of a sudden be a bad guy? For what? What would the reason be? Because it's cool? Because a bunch of us would be like, whoa, look at bad guy Cody. This is awesome. Homelander Cody. Yeah. Of course that would get, That would get me excited. That would get you excited. It would just be an exciting thing. But could we sit here and go, here are the beats and steps that it took to get here? No. Cody's been champion for a week. Why would he be in a bad mood? Randy Orton won the right to go to WrestleMania before Cody was even champion. Randy didn't win the Elimination Chamber with the intention of fighting Cody. Randy won the Elimination Chamber with the intention of fighting Drew McIntyre. Randy's been trying to avoid fighting Cody. Randy's been a good guy. But he's waited all that he can wait. And we've watched him wait. That's the other thing. You don't have to retcon this at all. We've watched Randy wait. We've seen the last 2 years play out. And when you put it all together, this is the explosion. This is the chemical reaction that leads us to where we're going at WrestleMania 42. And I think it was a pretty remarkable way to kind of bring it all together on the way to WrestleMania. Guys, we're going to get right back to it, but I've got to tell you about NordVPN. I love NordVPN for three things: entertainment, privacy, and security. You can choose from VPN servers from across 168 locations. There's always one nearby. Just hit the quick connect button, and their smart algorithm find the best one for you. NordVPN offers special security features like Threat Protection Pro, which is an anti-malware tool that helps you avoid malicious downloads, phishing, scams, and ads. Amazing speed as well. NordVPN is one of the fastest VPNs out there. One NordVPN account, you can use it across 10 different devices. I use NordVPN on the Apple TV, on the MacBook, on the iPad, all over the place. Supports every major platform: Windows, Android, iOS, macOS, Linux, even Android TV. And wait till you hear about this exclusive NordVPN deal that I have for you. Just go to nordvpn.com/notsam and try it risk-free now with a 30-day money-back guarantee. The other thing that we saw on SmackDown was the way the show started, which was we were backstage with Nick Aldis, and Drew McIntyre comes out, and he talks about being screwed. He talks about, and by the way, this is where Drew is telling the truth, but is also a heel because he's not kind of taking ownership for the fact that we reap what we sow. That while, yes, Drew was screwed out of the championship because of interference and because this match, should never have taken place according to the laws that Drew put out there. Realistically speaking, the things that happened to Drew happened to Cody, and Drew didn't say Cody was screwed. So Drew comes out and talks about how everybody's against him, this and that, this and that. Here comes Jacob Fatu. And I loved this Jacob Fatu promo because Jacob Fatu gets right in Drew McIntyre's face and said, "You keep talking about who screwed you, Drew." Well, first he says, he basically says this. Fatu! Then he says, he goes, "Nick didn't do it. The fans didn't do it. Cody didn't do it. I did it." And you're sitting there thinking Jacob's gonna say, you screwed yourself, Drew. You're responsible for your own actions, doing the babyface thing. Take ownership, take responsibility for your own actions. But no, Jacob Fatu was handling this the way Jacob Fatu handles things, which is, Drew, I screwed you. What are you gonna do now? What are you gonna do about it? I did it. Now what? That's the most Jacob Fatu way of handling this. I did it. You got a problem? You got anything to say about it? And instead of Drew firing back by saying, "Okay, well then I'm going to make you pay," or "Okay, well you're right. Now, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to end you," and Nick, he quit. Drew McIntyre turns around and says he quits WWE, quits this whole thing, and he walks out of the building. We get a backstage with Jacob Fatu talking to Nick Aldis. Here comes Trick Willie. You heard those lemon pepper steppers walking up behind him. And there's Trick Williams. And the match is made for later on SmackDown. Trick Williams versus Jacob Fatu. It's a big deal. Trick gets his... I love that the trick on the spinning box is now an every show entrance for Trick Williams. It's not something, that we save just for like Elimination Chamber. It's not something we do just for PLEs. It's something he gets every single show. I really hope Trick Williams ends up in a big spot on WrestleMania, because a huge WrestleMania Trick Williams entrance would be a lot of fun. And if anybody should get a massive entrance at WrestleMania this year, it's Trick Williams. But they go and they have this match. Jacob Fatu versus Trick Williams. It's awesome. New generation of WWE showcasing what they got. And all of a sudden, even though he had quit earlier, Drew McIntyre shows up, interferes in the match, takes out Jacob Fatu, allows Trick Williams to get the dub. Now, first of all, before we get to Drew and Jacob, interference or no interference, this is a massive win for Trick Williams. It would have been very easy for Drew McIntyre to just come in, Claymore Jacob Fatu, and the referee sees it and calls for the bell. It would have been very easy to have this match end in a DQ and just have Trick really be there as a device. And by the way, Trick would still get a bit of a rub because he would have been in the ring with Jacob Fatu. A Jacob Fatu match at this point is a big match. But they took it a step further. It could have been a DQ. It could have been a non-finish. It could have been a schmoz. It could have been any number of things. But they wanted Trick to get the victory. And it doesn't hurt Jacob. Jacob victories are few and far. Jacob losses are few and far between. But this one doesn't hurt Jacob. If anything, it adds to the idea that Jacob and Drew hate each other. But it does a lot, I think, for Trick Williams. The fact that you have this visual of Trick getting the 1-2-3 over Jacob Fatu, his entrance music playing. And even though in the immediate, there's a bigger story over here with with Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre, the moment still belongs to Trick Williams. Trick Williams still comes out on top. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know if you're going to get Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams at WrestleMania, although now with the Aleister Black inclusion, which, by the way, I would love, with the Aleister Black inclusion, how great would it be if Sami Zayn goes full Aleister Black, starts wearing like a black suit with a black shirt and a black tie, slicks his hair back, and is serious Sami Zayn, and is straight up, in a team / faction with Aleister Black. I think that would be a lot of fun. But regardless, that's just something I'm thinking of in the moment. I think Trick and Sami could be a match. I don't know. I hope there's something big for Trick Williams at WrestleMania. But clearly we're headed to Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre. And this should put all sort of questions about whether or not they're going to open the main event up to a multi-man match out the window. I think Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu is a match that's going to explode at WrestleMania. And I think that when you look at it and you go, I can't believe they took the title off Drew this close to WrestleMania, I think in response to that, they're giving him this match with Jacob. But it's not just another match on the card. It's not just a standard grudge match. It's one of the biggest rivalries on the show. It's something that's been building since January. It's something that has a lot of layers to be told. It's something where a lot of stuff is happening. You're not just cutting a little promo here, a little promo there, back and forth, episode by episode on SmackDown, and then we get to the match. You're factoring in 2 different title switches, from Cody to Drew, and then from Drew back to Cody. That all is centered around Drew and Jacob. Drew McIntyre quitting SmackDown and then not quitting, and Nick Aldis getting involved, and Jacob Fatu losing in the chamber. There's so much there. And we've never had, Saturday night's main event, Drew getting involved in the Cody Jacob thing. And we've never had Drew versus Jacob in this story. The match has never happened. And I hope that that's the match that's being saved for WrestleMania. And I think that you have this opportunity to turn it into one of those show stealers, to turn it into I love a match where there's no title, but the story is so tremendous that it becomes one of the biggest things on the show. And I think that that's what you've got the potential to do with Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre. I think Drew should be on Raw on Monday. You know, if we want to believe that Drew is fully kind of flying by the seat of his own pants, quitting, like that nobody can control Drew McIntyre, I want Drew to show up on Raw. I want, Adam Pearce to be on the phone with Nick Aldis, and Nick Aldis is mad at him, and Adam Pearce is saying, I didn't invite Drew to Raw. And Adam Pearce goes, and Drew McIntyre's backstage at Raw, and Adam Pearce is yelling at him, what are you doing here? You're not invited. This is not your show. And Drew says, I don't have a show. I quit. I'm going to go wherever I want to go, and I'm going to wonder who's going to stop me. And then you can start doing this thing where, like, you never know where Drew's going to be, but maybe Jacob starts following him. Maybe Drew shows up on a Raw the next week, and Jacob is there too. And you've got this Drew-Jacob rivalry that is going way past the boundaries of Friday Night SmackDown and is going anywhere you could imagine. You know that this rivalry is bigger than any one show in WWE. And maybe the fact that Drew quit is how you go, okay, Nick Aldis says, fine, Drew, you quit. You're no longer an employee, but I'm willing to give you a one-night contract with the WWE. But we can't take responsibility for this. This match will be non-sanctioned. Drew has quit SmackDown. Nick Aldis doesn't want him back. Nick Aldis is not going to offer him the opportunity to come back. Let Drew's words bite him. And the way you get to him, and then Drew shows up on Raw, Jacob's going to follow him. Drew shows up here, Jacob follows him. Jacob shows up here, Drew shows up out of the crowd. And then you get to WrestleMania by saying, okay, Drew, you can have a WrestleMania match, but it's going to be a non-sanctioned match. And now you got Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre in a non-sanctioned fight. And then Jacob Fatu wins that match. And Drew's gone for a while. But when Drew's gone after WrestleMania, it's because he doesn't work for WWE. Because he quit. And nobody ever hired him back. They just offered him the opportunity to have this one fight at WrestleMania that was totally unsanctioned. I think that when you start playing with stipulations, I love that for Drew. And it will go, okay, well, why did Drew just randomly quit on SmackDown if he was just going to come back later? Well, make him hold to it. If I'm Nick Aldis, I'm so fed up with Drew and his nonsense that I go, okay, you quit, you're done. You quit. We took it seriously. You're out. And when Drew keeps showing up on SmackDown and keeps interfering in Jacob's matches and shows up on Raw, that's when Nick Aldis can say, I'm going to bring you back for one match and one match only, but I'm not going to be held responsible for it. You're going to have to sign away those rights. We're not sanctioning this match. But WrestleMania, it'll be Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre. For me, it works. Yeah. Guys, we're going to get right back to it, but Notsam Wrestling is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? You know, shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping that it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill as well. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. You know, I mean, look, speaking of Jacob and the Samoan dynasty and bad blood around it, we had a great segment to end Raw last week with CM Punk refusing to apologize to the Usos for what he said about Roman Reigns' dad, Sika, from the Wild Samoans. When he basically said, I'm going to bury you. Because Roman said, I'm gonna embarrass you, CM Punk. I'm going to take your title, and then I'm going to retire you. I'm going to retire you. I'm going to send you back down to NXT. CM Punk took that personally. You're going to retire me? Well, now I'm not just going to beat you. I'm going to bury you. And then for the first time, you won't be alone because I'm going to bury you right next to your father. Well, the Usos didn't take kindly to that. And the Usos come out and demanded an apology from CM Punk. CM Punk, and we did a whole video about this as well as a bonus pod. So on the audio feed, you can get the Notsam Wrestling update on the YouTube channel, Notsam Wrestling. You can get the video of our conversation coming right off of Monday Night Raw and where I stood on it. But I think that the Usos were completely justified in looking for an apology. And I actually think CM Punk was out of line from a character perspective, obviously. I think CM Punk was out of line in saying in refusing to apologize and then saying, well, you're Roman's lackeys. You know what I mean? You're just out here because Roman sent you out here because he didn't show up to Raw. When in reality, Sika is not only Roman's father, but he's the Usos' uncle. We know that the whole premise of the bloodline is how closely they hold family. And the idea that they wouldn't have a problem with what CM Punk said is insane. They're not out there for Roman Reigns. They're out there because CM Punk said something about their family. And CM Punk is supposed to be their friend. If my best friend is in a fight with my brother, and within that fight, my best friend says something about my brother's mother. Well, guess what? My brother and I share a mother. So now you've got a problem with me. It has nothing to do. You and my brother can have you can fight all you want. But what you said about his mother applies to me. So you owe me an apology for that. Now, CM Punk would not apologize. Jimmy Uso punched CM Punk in the face. It was some of the best promo work that Jey Uso has done in months. Angry Jey Uso. Oh, I believed that Jey Uso. That brought me back to early Bloodline Jey Uso. That brought me back to which one are you, Jey Uso? That brought me back to what really made people start to fall in love with Jey Uso. Was that real, raw, unbridled, crash out emotion that Jey had on display in that promo. I thought it was great. You don't understand. The veins popping in his neck. Jimmy having to be the kind of cooler heads prevail guy. I thought it was all really, really fabulous. But I also thought it was interesting that they knocked out CM Punk. And when he got up, he looked satisfied. He looked like it was all coming to plan. Like this was all by design, is what he looked like. And it makes me wonder. I don't think that the Usos are going to stay involved in this. I don't think this is going to be a bloodline thing. I think that line is going to define the rivalry, but I don't think it's going to define CM Punk and Roman Reigns at this point. I don't think that line is going to be used to give a rationale for bloodline members to start once again forming around Roman Reigns. I don't see that happening. I see it as the ammo that has Roman and CM Punk at each other's throats. Now, I said this and some people disagreed, but some people are wrong. I think that they should be very physical. I think the same way Randy and Cody got physical, I think that after what CM Punk has said in the last 2 weeks, I think that this should get physical. I think that Roman, I don't care about Roman insulting CM Punk's dog. If somebody insults my dead father and I insult their dead dog, that's not equal. I know that and trust me, I have pets. Family members that are human and pets, it's not 1-to-1, dude. It's not. CM Punk bringing up Roman's father and Roman responding with CM Punk's dog is not 1-to-1. It's just not. That man raised Roman Reigns, and we have as a public that has watched this story unfold for years know that Roman Reigns is on the record, maybe more so than any wrestler ever, except for maybe Shelton Benjamin, as loving their family. That Roman Reigns' family means everything to him. The whole purpose that Roman has for everything that he does is family-based. And then Roman's going to respond by making fun of CM Punk's dog. I wouldn't, if he's going to throw a line out there, that's fine. But it's not 1-1. I think Roman's got to throw hands. I don't see how Roman and CM Punk can be in the same ring face-to-face with the microphone again right now. If I'm Roman Reigns, it's on site. Like, I don't see, I mean, and not just because CM Punk was disrespectful, but in being disrespectful, he kind of embarrassed Roman Reigns. In being disrespectful, he showed Roman being vulnerable. Roman, all over his face, you saw how much it bothered him. And I just don't think that that's something that can go back to words after that. Certainly not face-to-face. Because why wouldn't Roman just start leveling Punk with haymakers? You know? While we're talking about what's going on heading towards WrestleMania, you had Seth Rollins showing up on Monday Night Raw with all of his masked men, clearly doing something with the vision. I still am an advocate, no pun intended, but I'll take it, for CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar. I thought, I'm sorry, not CM Punk, Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar. It just doesn't, especially now that, unless, because it would appear that Paul Heyman's going to be off TV. Paul Heyman, they said after the injuries suffered at the hands of Seth Rollins and then being kidnapped by LA Knight in an ambulance, that Paul Heyman is off TV indefinitely. So I guess then Brock Lesnar will be back on Raw starting tonight with no Paul Heyman by his side. So if it's just Brock with no Paul Heyman by his side and there's nothing made of it, well, then that's a way that you can tell the Brock Lesnar story and it has nothing to do with the vision. And then it becomes about Brock and Oba or Brock and Gunther or Brock and whoever it is. It could be Javon Evans for all that. Trick Williams. I don't know. Or you could bring up Paul Heyman. And if Paul Heyman's absence is highlighted, then you either go Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins is the one that did that to Paul Heyman, or you go Brock Lesnar versus LA Knight, because LA Knight's the one that stole the ambulance. Why did LA Knight steal that ambulance? I don't know, unless you're going to have Brock answer for it, because on the other end, you could easily go to WrestleMania with the Usos defending the tag team championship against Logan Paul and Austin Theory. And I do think Logan Paul and Austin Theory winning the tag team championship at WrestleMania would be a good thing. I mean, I was all over the dirts over the weekend because it's public knowledge now that I think it'd be a good thing if Logan Paul was the WWE champion or the World Heavyweight champion. I think that's the territory Logan Paul should be in. But at the very least, tag team championship, that could be a good look. So if you're going to do Usos versus Vision, then either you do Seth versus Brock, or if Seth is legit not cleared, you do LA Knight versus Brock. But because you have all these players, it also makes me wonder, maybe you can get Braun Breaker back in time. I don't know, but it's a mystery. I'll tell you that Seth Rollins is, he's not John Wick. I had him as a John Wick type, just going out and getting immediate revenge. Instead, I think Seth Rollins more resembles either Bane or Tyler Durden, depending on your movie of choice. Whether you're a Fincher or a Nolan guy, it's either Fight Club or Dark Knight Rises. Except when Tyler Durden had all his Fight Club guys with him, and when Bane had all his soldiers with him, they would just kind of stand there stoically. They wouldn't run in all directions. I do think in hindsight, maybe the army of masked men become a little bit more intimidating if they're just, I would say, stand stoically and then move away when Seth wants you to move away. But if there's 30 guys in the ring and they're all wearing masks, you don't have to mix each other up to protect Seth Rollins. You can just stand in front of Seth. There's 30 of you. You can just stand in front of Seth Rollins and beat up whoever is trying to fight Seth. You don't need to, kind of play human whack-a-mole, but that's just my opinion on it. Before we get to emails too, the Judgment Day on Raw broke up. And then we posted a video about that too, as well as a Notsam Wrestling update on the audio feed. I still kind of feel the same way. I think it leads to a Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio match. I don't know why CM Punk bringing up Roman Reigns' dad is a horrible thing, but Finn Balor can just bring up Dominic Mysterio's deadbeat dad and that childhood trauma, and he gets a free pass. He's still a good guy. That doesn't seem right to me. I think Finn Balor was out of line personally. And he's known Dominic for all those years. All the times that Dominic was talking about his deadbeat dad, Finn Balor was feeding that narrative, and now all of a sudden he's using it against Dominic. That's very toxic, to borrow a term from Kit Wilson. But I'm hoping we get Demon versus Dominic at WrestleMania. I would be happy if they did not advertise the Demon. I would be happy if they just advertised Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio, and then the Demon came out. I also kind of think that Liv Morgan should lead the Judgment Day. And I was talking about this before, and I stand by it. You know, I think that with every time the Judgment Day kind of flips and turns into something new, you gotta figure out who they are now. How are they different? How have they evolved? And I think having a female leader of the Judgment Day with Dominic Mysterio on her arm, I think it would be a great new incarnation of the Judgment Day. Dominic Mysterio, by the way, not only did he retain the AAA Mega Championship on Saturday night against Vikingo, but he got bloodied all in the head because Vikingo threw a chair at his head, and he retained the AAA Mega Championship, which is the newly made title. They didn't redesign it. It still looks the same, but that Mega Championship has been that same kind of belt for a very long time, and now it's all like nice and shiny and stuff like that. But dude, I did not think in a million years when WWE announced at SummerSlam, I think, or maybe it was WrestleMania. It was WrestleMania when they announced last year it was definitely WrestleMania. When WWE announced the acquisition of AAA at WrestleMania last year. In a million years, I never would have imagined that I would turn on AAA, and number one, AAA fans would like, there would be huge new interest in the product. Number two, WWE fans would be into it. But most importantly, number three, that Dominic Mysterio and Grande Americano Dos, Grande Americano El Segundo, Grande Americano Contemporary would be the biggest baby faces on the show. It's amazing watching that show and seeing the AAA audience. They love Dominic Mysterio. Like Vikingo was the heel and Dominic Mysterio was the babyface. Dominic Mysterio is a AAA babyface. It's unbelievable. But also, and I think it might be because in Lucha, somebody else using an already established gimmick is kind of normalized. You know what I mean? Gimmicks are passed down. That the idea that there would be a second Grande Americano after Chad Gable went away with injury, like for a AAA audience, they're like, yeah, of course. You know, that Grande Americano is done. Let's embrace the new Grande Americano. And once they embraced him, when the old one comes back, they go, no, we got a new one. They love contemporary Grande Americano on that show. He was getting bigger babyface reactions than even Dominic Mysterio was. So just a real, phenomenally interesting scenario going on over at AAA right now. Very, very interesting. We're going to get right back to it, but, you know, spring is that natural reset point. Spring cleaning and the like. And well, if you've been putting off cleaning up the messier parts of your business, now's the time to do it. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest and easiest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo works wherever you are, right from an app on your phone or computer, and lets you keep your existing number, add new numbers or teammates in minutes, sync your CRM, and rely on seamless routing and call flows as your business scales. Make this season the one where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/notsam. That's QUO.com/notsam. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. If you want to email the show, It's notsamwrestling@gmail.com. You know, we do emails every show. Notsamwrestling@gmail.com. Avik writes in, what's the haps from London? He wrote that to notsamwrestling@gmail.com. He writes, now that Randy is turned, how do we factor in Sami Zayn? I have no clue. Sami versus Trick double turn, then Sami helps Randy. I don't think Sami's involved in the main event of this show. You know, and I don't think he should be. I think Sami, you know, can start a rivalry with whoever comes out of WrestleMania as champion. But I think, you know, Cody versus Randy, especially after the end of SmackDown on Friday, it's big enough on its own. I don't think you get anybody else involved in that match. I don't think you need anybody coming out. Like, I'm hoping right now, and that could change. I mean, we got many weeks. But right now, I'm hoping that it's simply Cody and Randy. Chris writes in, after Randy's actions on Friday night, do you see it as a heel turn, or do you see Cody getting the best version of Randy, as Cody didn't give an opportunity for Randy, and Randy doing all means by winning his 15th title? Hope all the fam as well. Everybody's great, Chris. Yeah, I think I covered that in the beginning of the show. I do not think that that's what Cody wanted, if that's what you're asking. I don't think Cody got the best Randy out. I don't see it as I think Cody underestimated Randy. I think Randy was underestimated by Cody, and that's the consequences of underestimating Randy Orton. I think that's how I feel about that. I hope that answers your question. Brian in Dallas writes in, do you think there's a chance we see a double turn at WrestleMania between Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer? I think Liv is a huge star that doesn't need a group like Judgment Day backing her, and Stephanie Vaquer could use more excitement in her character. I could see Raquel betraying Liv, and Dom leaving Liv for Stephanie, which is in his character to do. What do you think? I don't think so. I mean, yes. Could I see that happening? Yes, I could see it happening. Could Liv Morgan be a babyface tomorrow? Yes, Liv Morgan could be a babyface tomorrow. You know, I was, I don't know if reticent is the word. Maybe not. I was apprehensive about the idea of Dominic Mysterio leaving Rhea Ripley for Liv Morgan, because the chemistry between Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio was so unbelievable. But somehow, Liv and Dom together became even better than Rhea and Dom together. And I would not break them two up for anything. If Liv is a heel, Dom's a heel. If Liv's a babyface, Dom's a babyface. The idea, I was against seeing Dom and Roxanne together when they started hinting at that and then dropped it. I don't think I want to see it just doesn't make any sense to see Stephanie Vaquer and Dom together, because you'd almost feel like Stephanie Vaquer was being taken advantage of by Dom. And the whole thing about the Dominic Mysterio character is that the woman that he's with has to be this sort of powerful woman that guides the relationship. And I think that while physically Stephanie Vaquer is that power, I don't think from a story driving perspective she is. I think Dominic Mysterio drives the story more than Stephanie does. Cody writes in, dude, so I know you've discussed about if it's even feasible to get the crowd to boo Randy Orton, but after watching SmackDown on Friday, I definitely think he could do it. Randy is extremely good at his job, to put it ever so eloquently, and as a newer fan, I've never seen Dark Randy, so that's very intriguing. I love to hear that. So there's plenty of history to go through with the weeks leading up. Yep, that's 100% right. So with all that being said, do you think Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton being the main event night 2? No. Listen, first of all, I don't think it serves us to, try to go, well, that's night 1 and that's night 2 because that's better and that's worse. I don't even love that conversation. I think Cody and Randy is night 1. And Roman and Punk is night 2. I just think that those are the 2 nights. But the tickets are, I think, equally priced on Saturday and Sunday. One's not a warm-up show. It's 2 WrestleMania shows. The Saturday one is headlined by Randy and Cody. The Sunday one is headlined by Roman and Punk. I think that the goal is to have 2 equivalent main events for those 2 shows. But yeah, no. So, yeah. No, well, do I think, I mean, to go back to the other thing, do I think Randy could get fans to boo him? Yes. Just not every single fan, that's all. And I don't think Cody can get every single fan to cheer him. So, you know. Fernando writes in, he writes, if WWE, oh, let me see. Is this long? Yeah, this is too long for Fernando. I mean, all right, here's what he wrote. If WWE really wants to heat things up, he wants my opinion on this. They should bring up the real-life ticket struggles. Come on, dude. Roman can say Triple H or the TKO board. Roman can say to come in and save them. It creates Punk versus the corporation. And if it's the TKO board they want to go with, Punk has been talking about Roman's family. No, I don't. I think the only way that going against the boss works is if the boss is going to eventually get in the ring. Like, I think that whole thing, no. We got something so good right now. Why would you go and have people conflate what's real and what's not real? Are tickets really struggling that much? No, tickets aren't really struggling that much. Well, then why did he say, well, because we're telling this story and we're kind of trashing the company by telling the story? I mean, I don't understand the logic in that. Ryan writes in, Sam, as the first ballot of WWE podcasters to someday go into the Hall of Fame yourself, I think I should be in the Hall of Fame. I think that'd be great. Do you think Sean Mooney deserves and needs to be championed for a Hall of Fame induction? He was an outstanding interviewer, commentator, and Coliseum video. You don't have to tell me who Sean Mooney is. I mean, yeah, I would have to research which announcers are in the Hall of Fame, but he's definitely on my short list. You know, Sean Mooney is an absolute legend. Joe writes in, hope all is well. It's unbelievable. I know creative is subjective and storylines don't always hit, but the whole Lantern thing is a miss and being run into the ground. Both factions have been going at it since December. Thoughts? I mean, you know, it doesn't offend me. It feels like a SmackDown story, a television kind of storyline, you know? I'm not offended by it. I don't think it's leading to a big, you know, WrestleMania main event, but it just kind of is what it is for me right now. Brennan from South Africa, here to acknowledge his OPTC. 5, 2. Firstly, I totally agree with you about Logan Paul being world champion. I still think Logan wins Money in the Bank this year. But then I also think the briefcase is destined for Trick Williams or LA Knight. So how would you fantasy book a story to get Logan Paul to a world title? Also, with the Braun's injured right now, I really want to see Seth Rollins be more upset the 2 guys that he hates the most aren't fighting over his world championship that he never lost. Well, I don't think that it would make a lot of sense for Seth to come back and get mad that those guys are injured. There's nothing you can really do because they're legit injured. To get Logan Paul, yeah, I don't need Logan Paul to be Money in the Bank. I think when Logan Paul wins the championship, he should win the championship legit. And, you know, it's not tough. I mean, the idea that you go with, honestly, coming off of WrestleMania, you could do Logan versus Roman or Logan versus Punk without an issue. You know, here's the thing. If Roman Reigns wins the title, you've now got Roman versus Seth. You've got Roman versus Logan. You've got Roman versus Breaker. You got a lot of matches if Roman Reigns wins the title. But yeah, I mean, I don't even think you have to fantasy book it. The idea that Logan would want a rematch against Roman Reigns because Logan is a different guy now, booked. The idea that Logan Paul would want to fight CM Punk for the title, booked. I mean, I get it. To me, that's why I'm such an advocate for it, because it's one of those things that if Logan Paul shows up the Monday after WrestleMania and announces he's going after the title, I don't think anybody's going to sit there and go, I don't understand. Why would Logan Paul get a title shot? All right. Last email from Mort. Thank you for your breakdowns, input, and entertainment every single show. I love you, Solo. You mean?
I love you, Solo!
Single question. How can we get Demon Finn Balor with Danhausen versus JD and Dom? Thanks. Listen, the Danhausen character, the Demon character is an extremely serious version of the Danhausen character, which is a parody of characters like it. So the idea that you take the parody and extremely serious version and have them teamed up doesn't work for me even remotely. I think it would be neither the Demon or Danhausen would benefit from that team, I don't think. I mean, it's the same way where people are like, oh, I can't wait to see like R-Truth versus Danhausen or Kit Wilson versus Dan. It's like Danhausen and The Miz is perfect. Danhausen and Dominic Mysterio is perfect. Like it's people who take themselves too seriously against somebody who is completely absurd. That to me is the money for Danhausen. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe across all audio platforms. I'll be at the big event on Saturday, the 21st of March. That's in Long Island. That's a convention. If you want to come by and say hi, subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Notsam Wrestling. Listen to Notsam Wrestling live Monday through Thursday on Pro Wrestling Nation. Call in, and we'll talk again soon.